and by the way, the reason that we doubled the guitars is that yeah, it's kind of typical in rock music. You like, especially like a heavier tone, the sort of denser rhythm track that you want to have with especially rock guitar sounds. It's nice to have a doubled performance so that it really fills out the stereo field, and it can be really impactful and huge. It's harder with just one guitar to have it be as impactful, especially like if I only had one guitar, one heavy guitar for this song, well, I'd pretty much have to put it in the middle if I wanted it to fill sort of both speakers. And it being in the middle, it's sort of sitting on top of the bass and the vocal. So I want to get it off to the side. I want that excitement off to the edge, and when the chorus comes and the guitar, this heavier guitar comes in, and it's like it's impactful, but not over the top of the vocal and the snare drum and the bass and all the things that are living in the middle. And then, in this particular case, we chose to have two different guitars doing the doubling as opposed to the same guitar, because the plasma pedal and the amps are reacting a little bit differently. I mean, Danny's playing the part the same way, but the way that the guitars are interacting with the rest of the chain, the plasma pedal doesn't quite sustain the same. The frequencies don't respond the same. The amps are not the same. So it's not as similar and stable as an image. So that's a choice we could have made to where it was more similar and there wasn't as much discrepancy. But sometimes I like the slight difference that it gives, because it makes the image swim around a little bit and makes it a little bit more interesting to listen to, because the distortion and the way that the sound is coming on and cutting off with a very rhythmic part like this, it just kind of makes it a little bit more interesting in the stereo field. And that's one of the reasons why it's nice to double things. It's like a thickening, doubling vocals, or is one very common thing, or the way that the pre-production has. There's layers of different instruments doing the same part, because then you can play with the image, you can play with the depth of stuff. Earlier I showed where Graham has that very distorted leading guitar in the instrumental, and we put cleaner guitar and the slide guitar underneath, the slide acoustic underneath it, and it just kind of gives it some more dimension and space. I could maybe I could leave Graham's leading instrumental guitar in the middle, and I could possibly pan the slide guitar off to the right and the clean electric with reverb off to the left, and you get this really cool image and this big soundscape. So doubling these guitars is just giving us a bigger presentation and really spreading out the image. And really making it impactful, and the song kind of going in the verses from being more centered and focused around the vocal and the drums and the keyboards, kind of giving a little bit of space to these two guitars coming in very heavy on the sides. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to play you the finished guitar parts that we just added. It's not the finished product in terms of the song, but finished guitar parts. We'll play the intro, and I'll put it in the middle at first. And then halfway through the intro, I'll pan it over to the left. And so you can kind of hear what I was talking about. Like, if I only had the one guitar, placing it in the middle kind of gets on top of the vocal and all the other interesting stuff in the side, in the middle. And then when I pan it off to the side, it's like, you hear it more, and it has a little bit more interest in the scheme of things. But when I start it over and I add the second guitar, you'll see how the presentation is improved by having the double. So now that I played you the intro, it's a little bit easier here. I want to just go to the chorus. I want to go to the chorus and I want to put the first guitar in only, put it in the middle, and have you hear it a little bit over top of the vocal, and then I'll move it off to the side, and then I will add the double guitar. So hopefully you see the power that adds. Now, just as a further little demonstration, I told you I kind of wanted to go for something that's a little bit heavier than was originally in the tune. It's not that the original guitars that Graham had in there were bad. There wasn't really anything wrong with them, but they just, with the way that we're adding the programming and the way we're sort of adding some contemporary sounds and the synths, I just wanted something that was a little bit more distorted, a little bit heavier, a little bit more aggressive. So I'll turn off the new guitars, I'll put Graham's guitars in, and then I will, halfway through the chorus, I'll switch them. Sounds really cool to me, doubled like that, and the guitars are certainly heavier and a little bit more aggressive. So on to the next thing.